Welcome, Junior Tukkies. I'm Miss Kutsia, and I'm going to teach you today about the digestive system and what exactly happens with food that enters the mouth. So we will look at how food will be broken down into the smaller pieces, which will then be transported to every single cell in the body. So what is the purpose of the digestive system? So firstly, it breaks down food into very small particles. Then it will be absorbed into the bloodstream, and after that, it would be transported to every single cell in the body. If nutrients are not transported to these cells will slowly but surely will die without the necessary nutrients to survive. So let's have a look at the main processes of the digestive system. So firstly, we have ingestion. Very easy and simple. It occurs when food is taken into the body through the mouth. Then secondly, we will move to digestion. So digestion is where large food particles are broken down into smaller pieces, and then finally it will be absorbed in the small intestine. Then we move over to number 3, which is the absorption that takes place. So absorption occurs in the small intestine, where food is small enough, so in the form of nutrients, and they will then be absorbed into my bloodstream. Then last, we have digestion, which is the removal of undigested food from the digestive tract. Please do not get confused between egestion and excretion, because excretion refers to the removal of metabolic waste like carbon dioxide, urea, and also water. And then we have 2 types of digestion. Firstly, we have mechanical digestion. So this is the physical breaking, crushing, and mashing of food. This happens in the mouth because of the teeth, and then also in the stomach. Then lastly, we have chemical digestion. So this is where food will be mixed with digestive enzymes, which are small proteins, which chemically breaks down food, and then also hydrochloric acid, which we find in the stomach. So what are the components of the digestive system? So firstly, we have the mouth, the teeth, and also the tongue, which plays a very important role. Then we have the esophagus, not the food pipe, the esophagus. We have the stomach, the small intestine. We then have the large intestine, also known as the colon. We have the rectum and the anus. And then we also have the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. So what are the functions of each of these components? So the mouth and the teeth actually breaks down food into smaller particles. As the teeth is part of mechanical digestion, it breaks it down into smaller pieces. The tongue will then roll the food and mix it with saliva to form a food bolus. Then we also have chemical digestion that takes place in the mouth. So in the saliva, we will find enzymes, which is then mixed into the food, which helps with chemical digestion. Then we have the esophagus, which is a muscular tube, which contracts and relaxes to create a wave-like pattern. So this moves food from the mouth to the esophagus, and this motion is known as peristalsis. So if you have a look at the picture on the left, you can clearly see how the esophagus will contract at the back of the food bolus to slowly but surely move the food bolus down to the stomach. The stomach contains acid, which is known as hydrochloric acid. It also secretes enzymes for chemical digestion. The stomach also consists out of muscles, which contracts to break down the food and mix it with this acidic environment, and this then forms a liquid called chyme. The small intestine is where all nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream and then transported to the cells. There's also a lot of digestion that takes place in the small intestine. This is where most digestion takes place. So digestion of carbohydrates, fats, which is also known as lipids, proteins as well. So let's move over to the colon, or the large intestine. So this is very important for the absorption of water. Then we move to the rectum and the anus. So the rectum is where feces are found or undigested food, and the anus is the last muscular structure which you find in the digestive system. So let's have a look at our last three structures. So the liver. The liver stores iron, it stores excess glucose, and then also detoxifies the body. So removing alcohol and medicine. Then it also deaminates amino acids, meaning breaks down amino acids, and also produces bile. Now, bile is stored in the gallbladder, and this emulsifies fat, which means that it breaks down fat into very, very small particles. Lastly, we will have a look at the pancreas. So the pancreas has the ability to secrete enzymes as well as hormones like insulin, which regulate your blood sugar level. So when blood sugar level is too high, insulin will be secreted to bring the blood sugar level down. So to have a normal blood sugar level, it has to range between 4 and 5 millimoles per liter of blood. So this is a very common test, a very easy test, which can be done at any pharmacy. So let's have a look at what is a healthy diet. So a healthy diet is the requirement of different food components, but in a specific amount, not too much or too little of a certain food group. So the first food group is proteins, and they build and repair body cells and tissues, things like muscles. Then we have carbohydrates, which is a very good source of energy. So these can be fruits, vegetables, and carbs. Then we have fats and oils, which is very good for hair, nails, and a very good energy source, and also for the absorption and transport of a lot of vitamins. So these are things like butter, margarine, olive oil, or even avocados. So vitamins, we all know our vitamins. So for example, vitamin A helps with eyesight, strong immune system. Vitamin B helps with the process in releasing energy from food. Vitamin C helps keep healthy skin, healthy gums, and improves your immune system. So a few years ago, you will remember when you were taught about Jan van Riebeeck that came to South Africa, where his crew members suffered from a malnutrition, a disorder because of a lack of vitamin C, which was known as scurvy. So this they tend to get because they didn't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And this resulted because of a lack of vitamin C. And this is very, very important. Then also vitamin D, which helps to build strong bones and teeth. But the vitamin D is very important for the absorption of calcium, which falls under minerals. So calcium is the one that builds strong bones and teeth. And with less calcium, we can find, or it can result in something like osteoporosis, where your bones become brittle. Iron is needed for healthy blood, for the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and magnesium is also a very important mineral for healthy bones. Sodium plays a very important role in the functioning of muscles and nerve cells. So this you tend to figure out that you have a lack of salt when you get muscle cramps and aches. Then fiber is very important in our diet because it helps us with regular bowel movement and it avoids constipation. And then water. So water is a very, very one of the most important things we need for our body to be healthy. So this obviously transports and helps to carry nutrients and waste products throughout the body. So there's always health issues related to nutrition. So firstly, unhealthy diets can result in ulcers. So these are sores that develop on the inside of the mouth, mostly in the esophagus and the stomach, and also in the upper portion, the first part of the small intestine. So this can become so severe that it can lead to internal bleeding, which can cause a person to actually die. Then we will move over to the next health issue related to an unhealthy diet. And this is anorexia. So this happens when a person completely stops to eat because of a mental disorder where they think that they are overweight. So they literally have a fear of gaining weight. Then also obesity, the opposite of anorexia, and this is taking in an excess amount of carbohydrates. So this means that the amount of body fat is way too much. Then we also have malnutrition. So this is a serious condition that happens when people does not have a certain amount of a nutrient, too much or too little. So the first one is kwashiorkor. So this is a very common disease in most of our neighboring African countries, as children and babies will have common symptoms of a very skinny body and a very large belly due to a lack of protein. Then also we have marasmus, which is undernutrition, which is caused due to a lack of carbohydrates and protein. And that is it for my video on the digestive system. Please make sure to watch my next video on the excretion system, the musculoskeletal system, and then lastly, our nervous system. So all of these systems I will do in one video, as they are quite short sections. We won't go into much detail in these body systems.